And now later than billed here on 2 as we now head to the tight and twisty Hungaroring in Budapest, Hungary, as we have round 10 of the 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship and extended race highlights of the 1995 Hungarian Grand Prix. Introduced by Jack Wright with live race commentary from Murray Walker in Grand Prix Formula 1. This is the 1995 Hungarian Grand Prix, here from the Hungaroring in Budapest. This 2.4 mile circuit close to the beautiful and historic city of Budapest is one of the tightest circuits so far in the 95 championship calendar. All the teams need to set up their cars to very high downforce to get grip on its bends. Even so, all of the drivers need to be at their very best skill-wise to avoid sliding out of the upcoming race. And in yesterday's qualifying session, good grid positions are absolutely essential because passing and overtaking on this circuit is almost near to impossible. And last year, back here in 1994, it was another impressive performance from Germany's Michael Schumacher as he won the 77 lap race distance from pole position to checkered flag, after when he overtook the lead on lap 25 from Williams' Damon Hill, who eventually finished in second place, and Schumacher's Benetton Dutch teammate of Jos Verstappen took his first podium ever in the history of Formula 1 for a Dutch driver in third place, after an unfortunate last corner electrical failure from the McLaren Peugeot of Martin Brundle on the final lap. This victory for Michael Schumacher meant that it was his 7th race victory of the 1994 season, and meant that his lead over Williams' Damon Hill in the Drivers' Championship stood at 31 points with 6 races remaining of the 1994 season. And last time out at the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim, it sadly was heartbreak for all of the German fans as Michael Schumacher narrowly missed out on his first chance to win his home race in front of his home crowd. Despite that happening, it still was an incredible achievement for the Frenchman driver of Jean Alesi in his Ferrari, as he took the team's first victory of the 1995 season and the first victory in his Formula 1 career, with Schumacher having to settle with second place on the podium and another impressive third place to the British driver of Mark Blundell in his McLaren Mercedes. And even though the current championship leader of David Coulthard in his William Renault only managed to finish in 4th place last time out at the German Grand Prix, he still only leads the Drivers' Championship by 6 points over his German rival, that being Michael Schumacher, with also currently with 34 points. And since last winning here back in 1993, this time out here on Grand Prix Formula 1, we're going to be joining Briton Damon Hill as he's hoping to try and get back in the championship hunt alongside with Benetton's Michael Schumacher and once again his fellow British Williams teammate of David Coulthard, as we have one of the possibly most challenging races so far in this reimagined 1995 Formula 1 season. Hello and good evening all you Formula 1 racing fans out there. My name is Jack Wright and welcome to the 10th edition of, once again, my World Motorsport playthrough series, that being Grand Prix Formula 1 and two highlights of the 1995 Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Titan Twisty Hungaroring Circuit in the beautiful and historic city of Budapest in Hungary. And once again, of course, being the 10th round of the 1995 reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship. And once again, we are back to our normal schedule with this edition of Grand Prix Formula 1 after the quite unfortunate delay in the last round, that being the 9th round of the 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship season, with the 1995 Mobile 1 German Grand Prix from the circuit of Hockenheim. And even though it was quite a heartbreaker for all the German fans, expecting the first ever time for a German driver to possibly win their home Grand Prix, that being Michael Schumacher for the Benetton Renault team, unfortunately, he was just picked to the last by the Frenchman of the Ferrari driver, of that being of John Alesi, taking his first victory for both the team and, of course, himself in the Drivers' Championship, and is in his Formula 1 career also too. But Schumacher only had to make do with second place, another podium finish for, once again, the current world champion of 1994, and also the to also remind you of that being Mark Blundell there, sorry of course for the stuttering there, of him taking another podium for the Marlboro McLaren Mercedes team. And it still blows my mind that he is actually managing to achieve these of course recent results, and of course having keeping McLaren Mercedes, the Marlboro McLaren Mercedes team still in the championship hunt as we go to the first of the double figure rounds of this year's 1995 Formula 1 reimagined 95 season. And once again, as I said before, as you can see, we of course are sporting a different outfit. We of course this time are taking a break from following Michael Schumacher for another race, as we're joining back to the Briton of Damon Hill for the Rotherham's William Renault team. And we are hoping that after the unfortunate missing out on winning the race from just last year in 1994, and with him also currently at the moment quite far down in the championship, that being 7th, a win here today could make all the difference. And if Mark Blundell doesn't manage to score points here this afternoon, of course at the time of showing the extended race highlights of this of course year's 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix, he'll be right back in the championship hunt, back in the top 5, and it's going to be very exciting to hopefully see that happen after a very eventful qualifying session from here, as we mentioned earlier on at the top of the programme, that this circuit is once again one of the tightest circuits so far on the 1995 Grand Prix calendar, and it's just as challenging as like with the narrow city streets of Monte Carlo for the Monaco Grand Prix, and also from the quite interesting technical new layouts for the circuit Gilles Villeneuve back earlier on in the season for the Canadian Grand Prix. at Montreal. So, but anyway, with that being said, since of course we have got a lot to cover here on this edition of Grand Prix Formula 1 as we get right back in it, and as I just mentioned at the moment, as we have a look currently at the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship point tables at the moment, after the 9 rounds so far of this year's Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship, David Coulthard continues his lead in the Drivers' Championship by 6 points, from 41 points to Michael Schumacher in his Benetton Renault, just behind him by once again 6 points with 34 points. Johnny Herbert, even though he didn't score last time out at the German Grand Prix, still remains 1 point ahead of the very, of course, threatening Briton of that being Mark Blundell in his Marlboro McLaren Mercedes, with 27 points, of course, for Johnny, and to Blundell's 26. And following the impressive first race victory in his career for the Frenchman driver of Ferrari, that being Jean Alesi, he is currently in 5th place with 21 points, and just ahead of a few points between the Brazilian of Rubens Barrichello in his Total Jordan Grand Prix Peugeot car, also for the team in 6th place. And once again, as we will be following him in the race highlights very shortly, a fellow British driver for Williams Renault, that being Damon Hill, has got 16 points, 2 points behind Rubens, and Gerhard Berger is in 8th place with only 12 points at the moment. Of course, the John Alesi's teammate for Ferrari, and with also fellow Frenchman Jean-Christophe Bournion in his Red Bull Sauber Ford, still only has 7 points after another point he picked up, finishing 6th last time out at the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. And still at the moment, Carl Wendlinger is still out of the championship at the moment, still with his ongoing, of course, recovery from his head injury picked up at last year's Monaco Grand Prix, and still with only 5 points. And of course, also we had the first points, and he's out of the top 10, that being the Northern Irishman Eddie Irvine, and he nearly had a chance to also have a potential podium, or maybe even win, of course, from a few weeks ago at the Hockenheim, of course, circuit for the German Grand Prix. But he only had to settle for 5th place and 2 points. But it's still very interesting to see that hopefully that if they can have another good performance come the race very soon here on Grand Prix Formula 1, let's hope they can still keep in with the Constructors' Championship title hunt. As we move straightly and swiftly on to that, and once again, Benetton Renault, all important with the podium finish from Michael Schumacher. They have once again got unbelievably, and as well, a 6-point lead over Williams Renault with 57 points to 51. And McLaren Mercedes are still, of course, still within in the championship fight in the top 3 with 36 points, with that all-important 4 points and that third podium for, of course, for once again that being Mark Blundell. And Ferrari are only just 3 points behind them with 33 points, following the amazing once again race victory there from John Alesi. The Jordan Grand Prix, Total Jordan Grand Prix Peugeot Formula 1 team are in 5th place with 20 points, and they are 7 points ahead of Sauber Ford in 6th place with 13 points, and still at the moment yet to score any points in the last few races. 7th being Tyrrell Yamaha with 4 points, 8th Ligier Mugen Honda with 3 points, and still in 9th place Footwear Kart with still only 2 points at the moment. So there you go, everybody. It seems to be quite a reoccurring thing there with the flow of runners, of course, in the Constructors' Championship there. But with that being said, of course, we can move quickly on to, we haven't got much about the qualifying from last yesterday, of course, from what we saw from highlights from that here on the last edition of Grand Prix Formula 1. But we can tell you that, unbelievably, for I think the first time in a while in this the Reimagined 1995 F1 season, David Coulthard in his Williams Renault took pole position, and he also just beat Michael Schumacher in second place. And also it's amazing to see that even though that he did struggle, I think even though it has been glorious sunshine once again here at the Hungaroring Circuit here in Budapest, with once again the whole track length being 3.968 kilometers, which is once again in miles 2.466 miles, and there is the total race distance, the full race distance, that being 77 laps, which is covered by 305.36 kilometers, which is in miles 189.58 51 miles. And it's very interesting to see that once again the Williams team, despite once again with finishing out of course the top three last time out, they are hoping for another good result here as of this particular edition of Grand Prix Formula 1, and it went down to a few hundredths of a second actually, and between Coulthard and Schumacher. Gerhard Berger in his Ferrari was third, and an impressive fourth place from the Flying Finn of Mika Hakkinen, and also John Alesi of course rounds off the top six in his Ferrari. So it's going to be very interesting to see how of course most of the top six drivers so far, that being in the Drivers' Championship, even though Mark Blundell is unbelievably in the unlucky for some position of 13th, he still managed to have a little bit of luck, especially with some of the front runners actually pitting a lot more later than usual, and that could actually work to once again some drivers' strengths, especially with this being the second longest race distance in all of the races so far in this 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship season. And we do know that this is, of course, another race where we've had a few driver changes. Once again, if you did not know, last time out at the German Grand Prix, it was the last outing for the Italian of Pierluigi Martini for the Dormio, of course, for Minardi Ford team. And fellow, of course, well, I wouldn't say fellow Italian, but for the first time in a while in Formula 1, we have our first ever Portuguese driver, and that being Pedro Lamy. He is also, after formerly driving for Team Lotus a few years ago, he has decided to replace him there. And we also have the return of the local racing driver, of fellow British driver, that being Martin Brundle, once again replacing the seat of Aguri Suzuki. And he had an amazing qualifying session, also qualifying in 8th place in his Ligier JS41 there. So very interesting to see if hopefully he can maybe be a strong contender to try and get Ligier back in the championship, of course, hunt, and try and get a few points, as we'll be seeing very shortly in the extended race highlights. But also, we also have heard that the Italian driver of Giovanni Lavaggi, with his second race following his debut at the German Grand Prix last time out in the championship, he has also replaced the driver, the Frenchman of Bertrand Gachot. And unfortunately, due to the lack of performance in, of course, the Pacific Ford car, once again he is starting at the back of the grid in 24th and last place. So it's going to be another challenge, and I know that he got lapped quite a few times last time out at the German Grand Prix, so it's going to be, of course, hopefully it's not going to be a case of history repeating itself for that happening in with, of course, the next race of the championship. Well, that's all I seem to have got to update you on this edition of course, as we now, without nothing else to say, it's time for us for the talking to stop, and now I need to do a sprint, of course, to the commentary box and join once again my fellow commentating partner in crime, that being the legendary voice of Formula One himself, that being Murray Walker, as it's now time for extended race highlights of the 10th round of the Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula One World Championship, and for the first time to actually translate it into the official language of Hungarian, and that being the 1995 Marlboro Magyar Nagdi, of course, that's what it is they're saying. I can just see it as it coming up on my screen right now. And let's see if Damon Hill can possibly get back into the championship hunt in his Williams Renault. And with that also being said, here is the full extended, of course, and not just race highlight, but also the starting grid, as we once again have extended and full race highlights of the 10th round of the 1995 FIA Formula One World Championship, and with the 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring in Budapest. Here is the starting grid for round 10 of the 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula One World Championship with the Hungarian Grand Prix. And starting once again on pole position is Scotsman David Coulthard in his Williams Renault, with Michael Schumacher's Benetton in second. Third is Gerhard Berger's Ferrari, with an impressive fourth place once again from the Flying Finn of Mika Hakkinen in his McLaren. Fifth is Damon Hill, with John Alesi, the winner of the last race, in sixth, with Eddie Irvine in his Jordan in seventh, with the return of Martin Brundle in his Ligier in eighth. Johnny Herbert is 9th, with Olivier Panis in 10th. 11th is Heintold Frentzen, with impressive qualifying from the Italian Luca Badoa in his Minardi in 12th. Mark Blundell is 13th, with quite a lacking performance for the Brazilian Rubens Barrichello in his Jordan Peugeot in 14th. 15th is the Portuguese newcomer of Pedro Lamy, with Katayama and Inoue, the Japanese drivers, in 17th and 18th. Jean-Christophe Bouillon is 19th, with Papis in 20th. 21st is Roberto Marino, with Andrea Montemini in 22nd. Pedro Diniz in 23rd. And starting at the back in his second Formula One race of his career is the Italian Giovanni Lavaggi in his Pacific Ford.
This is the Hungarian Grand Prix, round 10 of the 1995 World Championship.
FIA Formula One World Championship. Round 10. The 1995 Marlboro Magyar Nagdi, from the circuit of the Hungaroring in Budapest. And now, to take you through all 77 laps of this year's 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix, here from the circuit of the Hungaroring in Budapest, it's now time to hand you over to our official race commentators. First of all, Jack Wright, then followed, as always, by the legendary voice of Formula One himself, Mr. Murray Walker. Well, here we are again, everyone, for another round of the, once again, 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula One World Championship, and once again to the very tight and twisty and technical Hungaroring Circuit here in Budapest in Hungary. And we do know that, of course, this track is no stranger to having unpredictable races, and especially from what happened just a few weeks ago at Hockenheim, Germany, I'm sure we're in for very much the same also too, especially once again with David Coulthard in his Williams Renault with another pole position for the Rotherham's Williams Renault team, and also amazingly, even though that he did struggle in qualifying from yesterday, he still managed to get 5th place, that being his fellow British teammate of Damon Hill, and not to mention also another great qualifying also from Germany's Michael Schumacher in his Benetton, and also from the last race winner, that being Frenchman of Jean Alesi in his Ferrari, rounding up the top 6. But we do know that, unbelievably, of course, there has been one other particular person that has been the face of controversy over the last few races, and we forgot to mention earlier on in this edition of Grand Prix Formula 1 that Austrian Gerhard Berger in his Ferrari, he is possibly, this could be his last race if he considers more unsportsmanlike behaviour style driving, because of him sideswiping once again Michael Schumacher at the last race, and of course once again the FIA have been very, very strict on this particular rising and unfortunate style of driving, which is deemed extremely dangerous, of course competing in the top level of world motorsport. And even though that he is currently qualified quite far down the grid actually, which is quite the surprise to see actually, but we do know that especially when it comes to those all-important pit stops, and we do know that this could be once again one of the longest races so far, of course not just distance-wise but length-wise in this of course race of the Hungarian Grand Prix here at the Hungaroring, and we do know that with this track it is also quite tough on tyres especially, and there are no room for mistakes also on this track because it's narrow in places, and as we said at the top of the program, the drivers have to be at their very best to avoid going off the circuit, or maybe of course going out and retiring out of the race entirely. So and I know that with the grid positions as they are, from as we just saw there earlier on, they have made all the difference, but we do know that also on the left side of the track, that of course to the right, that you'll be seeing of course on when we get underway, we do know it's slightly dusty in places, so and we do know that, like I said also, as we mentioned earlier on, just to correct myself there about Gerhard Berger, he may be once again starting in 3rd place, but he needs to, once again, all of the FIA officials are going to be on him like eagles tonight, of course, and we, well, not just tonight, but I was meaning saying today there, of course that was just a slip of the tongue. But we do know that he could be facing a 1-race ban if he ever considers any style of unsportsmanlike behaviour, of course, like driver conduct. So do keep that in mind. But anyway, as I said, we of course, the drivers, all 24 drivers are now line up on the grid, and we are about to get underway with the 10th round of the 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship, as the lights are just about to come on. So once again, here we go as we have full extended race highlights once again of round 10 of the Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship, as we have the 1995 Marlboro Magyar Nagdi, but of course more specifically the 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix, here from the circuit of the Hungaroring in Budapest. I seriously hope that Gerhard Berger doesn't crash into any other drivers again. He's never like this in real life, I can tell you that.
Watch for the lights. We've got real excitement coming up now. And they're off. This is the critical time now. He's lost a place. Look at that! He's off! position.
Well, I know you did say there that was a clean start there for Damon Hill, but unbelievably, I think that was Eddie Irvine in his Jordan. He just managed to overtake Damon's Williams there into the second corner. But it looks like all of the drivers are off and there's no contact, which is nice to see for a change. And we're underway with once again the 1995
Damon Hill. 8. Mike's Harold Benson.
Sorry there to interrupt you there, Murray. Once again, the 1995 Marlboro Magyar Nagdi.
The slipstream of the car in front.
And more specifically, as we said, the 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix. They look like, oh my goodness! I think Irvine made contact with, I think that was Alesi's Ferrari. And yes, he's been given an unsportsmanlike behaviour warning for
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
causing a collision. Now, Damon Hill might need to hold back here in case this happens again. Irvine goes for a move and he's made contact again.
Race order. First, David Coulthard in second position. Michael Schumacher in third. Mika Häkkinen in fourth place. Gerhard Berger in fifth. Eddie Irvine in sixth position. John Alesi.
Well, the stewards have also gave out another black and white diagonal flag, and that's his second warning in just one lap. Coulthard leads from Schumacher second, and then unbelievably, Mika Häkkinen, his McLaren Mercedes, moves up to third, Berger fourth, Irvine fifth, and Alesi in sixth. But he is under threat from the continuing advance of Hill's Williams Renault. Oh, he went wide into that corner there. But we do know that Williams
Damon Hill. 8. Mike's Harold Benson.
has got more power output than that Ferrari, even though it has got a V12 Ferrari powered engine.
It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that. He's definitely gaining.
He most certainly is, Murray. And it looks like the field is starting to close up again. I don't think that's because of a back marker, but it's very close in the top six at the moment. Alesi goes for a move on Irvine, and I think he's just got him. And I think Hill in his Williams could be about to follow suit. Coulthard starts lap 3 out of...
David Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen, Gerhard Berger.
Out of 77 of this year's 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix, he just clips the grass,
The gap is increasing.
but keeps it on the tarmac. He's just half a second now to Irvine's Jordan. He's really putting the pressure on the Northern Irishman now here, Damon. As well as trying to keep up with Alesi's Ferrari. Berger sets the fastest lap, a 1 minute 20.081 hundredths of a second. A few seconds.
Damon Hill, they're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time. 8. Mike's Harold Benson.
Well, once again now, Murray, there is only a few seconds separating the top 6 drivers. And Heinz-Harald Frentzen in his Sauber is unbelievably catching up. This is a great performance so far from the fellow German driver as well as Michael Schumacher. Oh! He's literally up his rear wing now, Damon. He's really putting the pressure on the Jordan driver. He could have gone for a move.
Visually just how small the gap is.
Absolutely, Murray, but as we've said,
David Coulthard, Mika Häkkinen, Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger.
and unbelievably, Mika Häkkinen in his McLaren has moved up to 2nd place. He is having a brilliant start to this afternoon's Hungarian Grand Prix here. Once again, he is yet to get a podium this year, but he is proving that McLaren still have got a bit of the old magic that they used to have with the late great Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, who teamed up with the team back in the late 80s. Hill goes for another move.
Man really is a superlative driver.
But he's just too close, and Frentzen nearly touches the rear wing of Damon Hill's Williams. He needs to make a move on him soon, otherwise Frentzen could go
Damon Hill,
for a move.
8. Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
He tries to go on the outside, trying to go for the racing line, but no, it hasn't worked. But he's got more speed in his Williams. They're almost wheel to wheel.
The slipstream of the car in front.
Hill's going to go for a move. He goes for it and he's passed.
If he can keep his place, he'll finish in the points.
And a brilliant overtake. Almost like late on the brakes into the first tight hairpin. But Damon Hill now is in 6th place in his Williams and holding on to a precious World Drivers' Championship point.
David Coulthard, Mika Häkkinen, Michael Schumacher, Jordan Alesi.
Hill looks very threatening out there at the moment as he's right behind now the gearbox of Jean Alesi's Ferrari.
Sensational! You can see visually just how small the gap is. He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
Well, I don't just think that, Murray, but this is some brilliant racing here between the Ferrari and Williams. But I don't think Hill is close enough to Berger. My apologies. Alesi is in 4th at the moment. 70 laps remaining of this afternoon's 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring. He's really putting the pressure on the Austrian now. He better not take him out. As we mentioned before, oh, he was looking very slow through that corner. Hill is getting closer and closer. They're almost touching.
He's in the slipstream of the car in front.
How many more times are you going to say this, of course, this afternoon, Murray? But we haven't seen racing like this be so close than ever before in any of the races so far in this 1995 Reimagined F1 season. I think there might have been some contact there.
David Coulthard, Mika Häkkinen, Michael Schumacher, Jordan Alesi.
I think that might have been Alesi on Schumacher. He is driving very aggressively.
Buckets of adrenaline in that car.
against the German. Hill still maintains a narrow time gap to, once again, Berger. This could be almost a double whammy for Hill here to try and overtake both the Ferraris. Seems audacious, I know, but... Oh my goodness, and yes, Alesi has made contact, and in just the last 2 laps, he's already picked up 2 unsportsmanlike behaviour, black and white flag diagonal warnings. He needs to be careful, otherwise he could be disqualified. Oh! Frentzen is just on the rear wing of Hill. This has been brilliant racing so far. Coulthard sets the new fastest lap of 1 minute 19.568 hundredths of a second. There is nothing in it between the top 6 drivers so far in this race. Oh, he goes to the right side. Teaming up with Alesi. They almost touch and almost take each other out. Frentzen behind once again Hill's Williams. Eyeing up for a pass. But Hill says, oh no you don't. And Dolan!
David Coulthard, Mika Häkkinen, Jean Alesi, Michael Schumacher, and he's gained a lot of time there.
And all in that confusion, Berger has made contact with Schumacher. And he's won a black and white diagonal flag warning. And Schumacher is going really slow through that final hairpin. Hill could have him here. He just managed to just tag the rear wing of Schumacher. That was completely unintentional. But he's more quicker. Wheel to wheel, the Benetton of Williams. Oh, goodness me. God, they almost took each other out. The rivalry between Schumacher and Hill is literally at its closest and most competitive than any other time so far. Oh, and a dangerous slingshot manoeuvre there. But Giovanni Lavaggi makes contact with Schumacher. But they managed to get past, and that was a blue flag. And he's also picked up an unsportsmanlike behaviour.
This young man really is a superlative driver.
Warning for causing a collision. Hill goes for another move again. But Schumacher even just has the edge on Hill. But he's slow through the first hairpin. But he just holds him off once again.
David Coulthard, Jean Alesi, Mika Häkkinen, Michael Schumacher.
Hill just brushes the grass again. And unbelievably, Gerhard Berger, or that actually, sorry, I think that's Alesi. He's managed to catch up again. Oh, no! No!
Contact between the two cars. He's been overtaken.
Well, it only was going to be a matter of time before something like that happened with an Ayrton Senna audacious style move. That was appalling driving there from the Frenchman, Jean Alesi. And he made contact with Schumacher again. I think it's going to be officially confirmed shortly. He is going to be disqualified because he is seriously gone stark raving mad in his Ferrari. No, my apologies, that's actually Berger. Well, anyway, they've almost been as bad as each other. And yes, he has been given a black flag. Gerhard Berger for his Ferrari is out of the Hungarian Grand Prix. And I think he could be facing a race ban in the next race at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. And no way, as well as that, the driver, that being Britain's Mark Blundell in his McLaren, also gets an unsportsmanlike behaviour warning. What on earth was he think he was doing?
Race order. David Coulthard, John Alesi, Gerhard Berger, Mika Häkkinen. That's moved him up a place. The sun is out and the weather is fine.
As you just said there, Murray, we've had beautiful blue skies over the circuit of Hungaroring here in Budapest.
A lot of time there.
And unbelievably, on the penultimate hairpin, Schumacher managed, my apologies, sorry, Damon Hill managed to overtake Michael Schumacher for 5th place. And now he is catching up with Finnish Mika Häkkinen in his McLaren as he overtakes Roberto Marino's 40 and moves up once again to 5th place.
He really loves these kind of conditions.
Well, I don't think he's the only driver who's loving the conditions so far. They're relatively warm, not as hot as a few weeks ago in Germany. A brilliant drive so far from Häkkinen here, but Hill is closing the gap. Under a second as they catch up, both of them, with Andrea Montemini's Pacific, and he gets past instantly. Down the pit straight. They're almost wheel to wheel with each other. He goes for a move and he makes it stick.
Beautiful. That's taken him up a position.
Another late braking move on into the first hairpin. And Damon Hill, is now in 4th place. Holding on.
David Coulthard, John Alesi, Gerhard Berger, Damon Hill.
To free
Closing the gap.
to free championship points at the moment. And Coulthard is leading by 25 seconds. Hill is now in a very
And the gap is closing.
of course, promising position at the moment, as he's now starting to close the gap on the top 3 drivers. Once again, David Coulthard, his fellow Renault
Really right on the edge.
powered Williams teammate,
All the time. He's definitely gaining.
and now he's catching up with Gerhard Berger's Ferrari. 62 laps are remaining as Coulthard starts lap 15 out of 77 of this 1995 Hungarian Grand Prix, sponsored by Marlboro here at the Hungaroring. That was very quick there, but he's just overshot the apex of the next corner. He has though, Murray, surprisingly. And he's really hunting down that Italian stallion of Ferrari.
He's definitely gaining.
He's right up his rear wing once again. But we do know that he won't participate in this race anymore. They don't do this in the game, unfortunately, for disqualified drivers.
Race order. David Coulthard, John Alesi, Gerhard Berger, Damon Hill.
So he will be exempt of the final race classification, regardless of where he finishes at the end of this race. It's a real shame to see him drive in this way, though.
He really is a superlative driver.
We were saying it even before the race even started, and this premonition, unbelievably, had to come true, unfortunately. Absolutely disappointing there for Berger.
That's moved him up a place.
But Damon Hill manages to finally overtake Berger into third place
Time there.
as he catches up with a train of back markers now. He needs to get past them quickly. Oh, there looked like there was some contact there between the Minardi drivers of Lamy and Badoa,
Losing ground.
but he effortlessly gets past them. And next up is Papis. He just goes on the grass again, Hill.
That was almost certainly a collision there.
And they just bang wheels. I think that was unintentional there from Hill. Luckily, there's no suspension damage. And now he's catching up with Jean Alesi by a time gap of 12 seconds. Now up to 13 seconds as he overtakes Giovanni Lavaggi's Pacific.
David Coulthard, Jean Alesi, Damon Hill, Gerhard Berger.
Well, as we just said earlier on, that the race engineer of Michael...
He's closing the gap.
My apologies again, of course, I mean Damon Hill. He's been told that he's going to come in on lap 23. And he could possibly go for a two-stop strategy. And maybe try to bravely go to the end of the race. Well, that is, of course, if he has a heavy load of fuel put in his car at the first pit stop, in that case.
And he's gained a lot of time there.
No, my apologies. We've just been reminded that it's actually 25, sorry. Lap 25 will be the first pit stop,
And the gap is closing.
which will be scheduled for, once again, Damon Hill. Coulthard starts, lap 9, as he's leading by over 7 seconds. Now this could be a promising result for the Williams-Renault team, and can put them...
He's shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
Well, he really is really going for it this afternoon.
Race order. David Coulthard, Jean Alesi, Damon Hill, Gerhard Berger.
And now Mark Blundell has moved up to 5th place in his McLaren. I think Mika Häkkinen sadly has dropped out of the top 6. Yes, he has. Sorry for interrupting you there, Murray. He's now down to 9 seconds. The Williams is looking in blistering form this afternoon. Could we be seeing a potential 1-2 finish this afternoon here from the Williams team? It's yet to be done, but so far in this season, but we shouldn't be seriously writing that out just yet, as the gap now goes down to 5 seconds to Coulthard and Alesi.
He's gained a lot of time there.
It now goes down to 8.665 hundredths of a second. 57 laps are remaining at the present moment of this afternoon's 1995 Marlboro Magyar Nagdi, and more specifically to translate, the 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring in Budapest.
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
The time gap now down to 12.18 of a second.
And the gap is closing.
Now down to 9 seconds for his teammate there, David Coulthard, there from Damon Hill. They really are starting to work together.
David Coulthard, John Alesi, Damon Hill, Gerhard Berger.
And now Damon Hill sets a new fastest lap of 1 minute 18.835 hundredths of a second. I don't know, I could be mistaken, but that could be a new lap record here at this track. We'll have to clarify that later on at the end of the race. And Eddie Irvine is now back into the top 6 in his Jordan-powered Peugeot. I'll make that, of course, his Peugeot engine-powered Jordan Grand Prix car. I knew what I meant, Murray, don't question me. He approaches. I think that's Ukyo Katayama. There's Tyrrell. There's a blue flag.
He's losing ground.
Slightly, Murray, but he's trying to get past these back markers as quickly as possible. And John Alesi is now starting to close the gap now on Coulthard by unbelievably 1/100th of a second now.
The gap is increasing. Race order. John Alesi, David Coulthard, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell.
Ooh, there's another blue flag. That's for Pedro Diniz's 40.
He's definitely gaining.
He must let him past, otherwise he may receive a penalty for illegal blocking. The 40 course forward is completely mismatched performance-wise
And the gap is closing.
to that Williams. And now, unbelievably, Jean Alesi is the new race leader in his Ferrari as he starts lap 23. As 54 laps are remaining
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
of this afternoon's 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix here at the Hungaroring.
And he's gained a lot of time now.
Well, he's really on it now, and he's about to overtake his fellow British teammate David Coulthard, Damon Hill.
He's closing the gap. He's right underneath the rear wing of the car in front.
Oh, he nearly tries to go for a move like he did on Schumacher a few laps ago. He goes round the outside of the final hairpin, but oh, he just goes wide.
He's losing ground.
I think that's down to the grip on this track. It is slippy in places, as we mentioned.
Race order. John Alesi, David Coulthard, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell.
As he passes, Giovanni Lavargi's Pacific again. Oh, they nearly bang wheels again. Coulthard is very slow there. Hill is a lot more quicker. He is faster than his teammate. He should go for this opportunity. The current Drivers' Championship leader is in real trouble. And he's passed.
That's moved him up a place, and he's gained a lot of time there.
And he's just managed to overtake Coulthard in one of the most unlikeliest places on the Hungaroring Circuit.
He's definitely gaining.
Alesi is starting lap 25. Now initially he was going to come in and pit, but I think he might be trying to go for an undercut here, Hill. And possibly wait for when Alesi pits. Because there's still quite a narrow time gap between even just the top six. And I think that's Johnny Herbert's Benetton. He's about to be lapped. There's a blue flag. He must let Hill past. Which he does.
Race order. John Alesi, Damon Hill, David Coulthard, Mark Blundell.
Hill keeps that fastest lap record.
Not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that. He's definitely gaining.
Of 1 minute 18.835 hundredths of a second. Well, he hasn't been, I wouldn't say lucky, Murray, but he's been really showing that he has no problem in trying to find all the perfect apexes and the race line as well around the circuit here. And he's really making up for the unfortunate missing out on winning here this time last year in 1994. But Schumacher, sorry. Oh! A move on Taki Inoue. He nearly got him there, but Inoue managed to get back into it. But he has been waved a blue flag from the marshals, so he must let him past. As we've already passed over a quarter of the full race distance here of this afternoon's Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring in Budapest.
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car. Race order. John Alesi, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, David Coulthard.
A little wide through that corner, but Hill recovers in an instant.
He's losing ground.
Well, this will be interesting when the back markers or the drivers come in for their pit stops, which I think some of them have already have. Hill overtakes Mika Salo's Tyrrell, as well as Mick Häkkinen's McLaren and also Roberto Marino's 40. And amazing, as you just said, Murray, Mark Blundell and his McLaren Mercedes is in third place once again for the Marlboro Mercedes powered McLaren team. Ooh, driving violently over those curves, but luckily no damage to the front wing there. There might have been some damage earlier on when he made contact with Michael Schumacher.
It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
But we'll find out. We'll find out when he comes in. I think he is going a few laps longer on these tyres, but he needs to be conscious of his fuel as well.
John Alesi, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, David Coulthard.
7.524 hundredths of a second is the gap between Hill and Alesi so far. But Damon is definitely on the charge now. And he could fancy his chances of winning here this afternoon.
He's definitely gaining.
After missing out on the points on multiple occasions over the last few races of this 1995 Reimagined Formula One World Championship. It's now down to 6 seconds. Hill passes Lami's Minardi once again.
They're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
Well, I can see Hill is really pushing himself a little now to try and close that gap to Alesi's Ferrari. And that's past Luca Badoer's Minardi, the second of the Ford-powered Italian team, that being, as we just said, Minardi.
Race order. John Alesi, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, Michael Schumacher. And the gap is closing.
It's now down to 4.815 hundredths of a second now. Hill is getting
And he's gained a lot of time there.
ever so closer now to the Frenchman of Jean Alesi's Ferrari. Now down to 3 seconds. He's caught up again with Katayama's Tyrrell. Oh, that was quite a narrow gap for him to overtake there, but he is past. There was already a blue flag waved anyway. That was quite the brave
Brave.
overtake there from Hill.
Lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
He brushes the track edge, almost going onto the grass. And he passes Pedro Diniz's 40 course Fords. Back down now to 4 seconds. Oh! Riding over those high curbs. But luckily the Williams Renault manages to maintain it.
He's closing the gap.
He is literally pushing his Williams Renault powered car to the absolute limit here this afternoon, Murray. This is an incredible bit of driving here from
Race order. John Alesi, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, Michael Schumacher.
the 1994 runner-up of the championship.
And he's gained a lot of time there.
It's now down to 2.9 seconds. Hill is almost with the Ferrari of Alesi now.
And the gap is closing.
He passes Schumacher's Benetton and approaching Jean-Christophe Bournion Sauber Ford.
Not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
Which he passes him effortlessly.
Closing the gap.
My apologies, that's Heintal Frentzen. I think Bournion is further down because he didn't qualify that well from last yesterday's qualifying session, sorry. But here he is now up with John Alesi's Ferrari here, Damon. Over the curbs. He's eyeing up a pass, I can see it happen. But where is he going to overtake him? Alesi is right under pressure now.
Look at that. You can see visually just how small the gap is.
We're seeing some more wheel-to-wheel racing.
John Alesi, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, Michael Schumacher.
Hill goes wide into the final hairpin. Alesi just does enough to hold him off. But I don't think it's enough because he's about to approach back markers. First of all! And he almost brake checked Hill there, Alesi.
They're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
And Massimiliano Papis almost forced Hill off the track there. At least he got past though. He was trying to fight
He's
off
in the slipstream of the car in front.
Alesi. He's just under a thousandth of a second now. It couldn't get any closer. Right here, right now, on this edition of Grand Prix Formula 1. He goes for a slingshot move! Ah, no! No! That was a brilliant overtake. He tried to go on the inside, but he overshot the hairpin. And Alesi just regains first place. Alesi starts lap 35 out of 77.
Shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car. Race order. John Alesi, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, Michael Schumacher.
Hill is really, once again, putting pressure on the Frenchman in his Ferrari. Hill will go for another move, I'm sure, but he needs to be careful not to make contact. He gets more of a run in on the inside. No, he's gone wide again. But at least he didn't go off onto the grass. Down the pit straight.
He's right underneath the rear wing of the car in front.
This is the closest bit of racing we've seen all season so far here on Grand Prix Formula 1, Murray. I'm really enjoying this. And this is what it's all about. These two incredible drivers putting on a marvellous display of driving and skill here. I honestly can't decide who. There is just very little in it between them.
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
Well, I think he's definitely got a sweat on inside his black and white striped helmet, Damon. He is literally...
Race order. Jean Alesi, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, Michael Schumacher.
almost trying to psych out the Frenchman here. But he slows down! But Alesi,
You can see visually just how small the gap is.
he still has got a gap on him, but Hill goes remove!
Exceptional. That's into first place.
And with that, a brilliant late braking move into the
The winner is 5.
first hairpin again of the Hungaroring Circuit. Damon Hill is in this Williams Renault is the new race leader of this year's 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring. Now the question is, can he hold that position? But he might have to come in for tyres and fuel very soon. He can't afford to run out of fuel after that mammoth challenge of trying to keep up with that Ferrari. No, he's going to do the sensible thing. He is going to come in. Well, at least he'll have fresh tyres.
He is a superlative driver.
In he comes.
He'd better watch his speed.
And that was a very good call. And also, Alesi's coming at the same time. A big top up of fuel, and he had to replace his rear wing because of damage. 21% damage.
That's a slow one.
Well, that was a slow pit stop, but he was quicker than Alesi there. And I think Blundell just came in.
Order. Damon Hill, Jean Alesi, Mark Blundell, Michael Schumacher.
Well, I don't know if that was Blundell or that was Hakkinen that just pitted. But that's crazy that actually both drivers went in at the same time. It was either that or Berger. But Hill retains the lead, though. I think Alesi did actually just pit before then.
Wait a minute. I'm sure there was contact there. Hang on. That's putting down a place.
Oh! And what on earth was Alesi doing? He made contact with Taki Inue's footwork. Oh my goodness!
The gap is increasing.
And it's happened immediately!
Right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
This is amazing! And with that, he has to pit again, Alesi. But he's been called into his pit lane, into his pit box, and he has been given a black flag. Both the Ferrari drivers are out of this afternoon's 1995 Hungarian Grand Prix. This is unbelievable.
Race order. Damon Hill, Jean Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
And now, out of nowhere, fellow Frenchman Olivier Panis, in his Ligier Mugen Honda, is now up into 4th place. Well, Alesi is still in second, but we don't know if that was still Berger, but he would have been already out of this race if that was the case. Hill starts lap 40 out of 77 as 37 laps remain.
Not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
Of this afternoon's 1995 Hungarian Grand Prix here at the Hungaroring in Budapest. Oh! And I don't know why Hill, it looked like he almost came to a dead stop there, but I think that was unintentional. I think he just changed gear all of a sudden, and he almost stalled his car there. Hill manages to get past once again the 40, and I think that was Bouillon in his Sauber. And now Damon Hill.
Damon Hill, Jean Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
Oh my goodness, Murray. I can't believe you're actually saying that. In all of that confusion, well, I know it does say Alesi, but as you just said, Mark Blundell is now into second place in his Marlboro McLaren Mercedes, and Olivier Panis is up into third place now.
On the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
Oh, he just clips the grass. A little too much curb on that particular corner. But the most important thing, like I said, is Damon Hill, who is come to be leading. And it's surprising that even though that this track supposedly had a high tyre wear level, there actually hasn't been, the tyres have managed to last pretty well, surprisingly, in this afternoon's Grand Prix. Both the Pacific Fords made contact, Lavargi and Montemini. I don't know what they were doing there. But they've already got blue flags, so Hill passes them with no trouble at all. Well, after all of that quite manic racing action,
Damon Hill, Jean Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis. He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
I don't know if he still is, Murray, but now it has to be said that Damon Hill couldn't be in a more better position, because now, because of that quite relatively overdue pit stop, that has made all of the difference. He has been topped up, I think, to the end of the race, and he was literally on fumes as he came in for his first pit stop, and it could be the only one he is doing as of this afternoon. But the tyres and I think the fuel will take him to the end of this race. The question is, can Damon Hill keep that time gap of 24 seconds to Mark Blundell? Of course, you are still seeing Alesi in second, but once again, both Ferrari drivers have been black flagged and are going to be both disqualified from the race. due to the ongoing collisions and unsportsmanlike behaviour style of driving. A very disappointing weekend for the Ferrari team this afternoon. They could have done better, but I think
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
one of the technical advisors
Damon Hill, John Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
one of the technical advisors of Ferrari, that being former triple world champion Niki Lauda. I wouldn't be surprised if he might have said some very colourful words on the pit wall just now. And who can blame him, honestly? And especially John told the team principal of Ferrari, I bet he will be seeing a little bit of red this afternoon as well. Ooh! He almost went into the pit lane entry there. He's really struggling to try and get past this Sauber. I think that's Bullion, I think. Yes, it is, and he's now finally passed. And the top three once again stand as Damon Hill in first in his Williams, second Mark Blundell in his McLaren, and third, unbelievably, Frenchman Olivier Panis is holding on to third place at the moment. And this would be a huge achievement for the Elige team, as last year, the last time they were on the podium, it was at last year's German Grand Prix, as we mentioned.
Damon Hill, John Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
In the last edition of Grand Prix Formula 1. He did get slowed down there, but as long as Hill can keep that lead, he will secure the race win. I mean, it's quite the peculiar situation that we have found ourselves in here on this particular race of the 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship, but once again, the FIA steward's word is final, and it's quite unbelievable to see that both Ferraris are going to be heading once again for not just a double retirement, but also for the first time ever in their history, a double disqualification. Oh, and he nearly makes contact with, I think that's Michael Schumacher's Benetton. There is a blue flag, he needs to let him past. But no! He needs to let him pass. Schumacher could face a penalty. Now he's passed.
Damon Hill, John Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
And he's stuck behind Roberto Marino's 40 course Ford again. There's a blue flag, and he's passed again. Now let's ride on board with, of course, I was going to say Schumacher, but he's already overtaken Schumacher Hill into the first corner.
He really loves these kind of conditions.
Up into fifth gear and up to 100 and nearly 150 miles an hour. Into a tight left-hander. Now to a sweeping right-hander. Breaking down to that tight chicane. Now into a sharp left and then a sharp right. Another left and then another almost 90-degree right. Another tight right into a small or more slightly looser chicane into the first of the long winding hairpins. And a long sweeping 180-degree right curve.
Disorder. Damon Hill, Jean Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
28 laps remaining of this afternoon's 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring in Budapest. Jean-Christophe Bournier is still holding on to 6th place in his Sauber, even though he's a lap behind currently.
It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
Hill approaches one of the Jordans again. I think that's Barrichello. I think one of them is still in the points at the moment. I think that being Irvine, unless he lost 5th place due to his recent pit stop. He manages to get past him though. My apologies, actually it was Barrichello. He's now in 5th place, but he has been lapped. Once again, he has been scoring relatively well points-wise, but we do know that since Alesi has been disqualified, he will move up to 4th place. And it may not be his best result, because as we know that his best result was a 3rd place on the podium at the British Grand Prix. But a great result for the total.
Damon Hill, Jean Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
Peugeot-powered Jordan Grand Prix team. So I'm sure there will be quite a happy smile on team owner Eddie Jordan's face as the laps count down here.
Right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
Well, as we've already long waited past the halfway point of this afternoon's Grand Prix, we're heading into the 3/4 length of the 4 race distance here from the Hungaroring. It feels like Damon Hill has had quite a comfortable race in the second half of this this afternoon here at the Hungaroring in Budapest. There's a blue flag. That was quite the aggressive move there from Inoue. He must let Hill past, which he does. And no, that was actually Papis and also Pedro Diniz in his 40 course Fords. Out comes, I think that's Lavaji in his Pacific.
Damon Hill, John Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
Oh, and he just manages to get past also, once again, Yukio Katayama's Tyrrell Yamaha. Now, just once again to clarify, even though Alesi is in second, we already mentioned that he is already disqualified and been black flagged for unsportsmanlike behaviour, multiple warnings of that style of driving, so he will be exempt from the full race classification at the end of this race. Well, since the race is starting to slightly die down now, we certainly weren't expecting this result here this afternoon at the Hungaroring in Budapest, but it's going to make the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship all very different now. I think we're going to be in for a real mix-up towards the end of this Grand Prix.
Damon Hill, John Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
And we do know that since Blundell, if he can maintain that second place to Hill, he'll unbelievably, because of this result, just have an edge, a few narrow points lead over him in the Drivers' Championship, since Damon Hill is sadly down at the moment in 6th place. But he's certainly not out of the championship now, since the fact that there was that double disqualification of Alesi and Berger. So he's right back in the championship hunt because of a double, of course, zero amount of points taken away from, once again, both the Ferrari drivers. And once again, Gerhard Berger is going to be banned from the next race.
It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good, and he is that.
Picking up that, of course, warning back at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. While Alesi, I think, I won't be surprised, he will also receive a warning and a potential race ban in the next possible few races of this year's 1995 Reimagined Championship.
Damon Hill, John Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
And it looks like, I was going to say, I think that's Schumacher. He needs to let Hill past here. The back markers are also catching up here. Ooh! He must let him past. Whoa, wow, brilliant. Brilliant overtake on the outside of that corner. Impressive driving there from Hill. We have seen it all from Damon this afternoon. It has to be said, Murray. As you said, he is a superlative driver. And we have never seen him drive like any other in any other race that we've had so far this season. And this
Really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
and if Hill can keep this lead and win this afternoon, this will be quite the unforgettable race to look back on for the British driver. It's been once again another quite unpredictable and eventful race, it has to be said. It's definitely up there with for what we've had from earlier on in the year.
Race order: Damon Hill, John Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
As 20 laps are remaining of this 1995 Marlboro Magyar Nagdi, and once again more specifically the 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring in Budapest.
Shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
We now ride on board with the nose cam of Hill's Williams. But now we go to the cockpit cam. As I think he approaches, I think that could be Olivier Panis's Ligier. It's been an incredible drive from the fellow Frenchman. Once again, he hasn't been on the podium since last year at the German Grand Prix, as we mentioned in the last round. This will be an incredible achievement.
Race order: Damon Hill, John Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
But in goes, I think that, I'm not sure if that was actually Panis or Brundle.
It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that.
Well, I have never seen him be so calm and so cool at the moment, Damon Hill. We do know that he did, once again, slightly touch Schumacher's Benetton at the start of the race. But we do know that it's just down to how, of course, competitive both drivers are, since once again they both finished first and second in last year's Drivers' Championship in quite the controversial way, as we had said right at the beginning of the series. And we almost had almost kind of like almost a nod back to it. Oh! Hill goes wide onto the grass, but luckily he doesn't spin the car. I hope that his wheels, his tyres.
Damon Hill, Jean Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis
Are starting to wear at the moment. But he has only got 17 laps to go. But Hill is in still a very...
This young man really is a superlative driver.
Quite generous position, it has to be said. But he has worked hard once again, it has to be said, to get this first place here today. And we have had another quite unpredictable race, it has to be said. It feels like that we are kind of overusing that word, but just through, of course, what's happening through the AI of the game itself. Every two races aren't the same, and as we've already have seen that happen already here on Grand Prix Formula 1. But I'm sure it's been providing some great entertainment for all of you viewers watching at home. And don't forget, we would love to hear from you on how you've been enjoying the series so far. Don't forget, you can like and comment down below if you are watching right now, if it's being premiering on YouTube. And also we would love to hear from you if you would like us to cover also other seasons, hopefully in the near future, here on Jackpot Button Lewis Sports Productions.
Damon Hill, Jean Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
So we head into the closing stages of this year's 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring in Budapest. Damon Hill still comfortably leads. And also, once again, Mark Blundell in second for in his McLaren Mercedes. And still an unbelievable, impressive third place from Frenchman Olivier Panis in his Ligier. Ruben Barrichello is in fourth place. And of course we obviously correct that Bouillon will be is in fifth place at the moment, so whoever finishes in sixth at the end will actually be promoted to fifth, while the person finishing out of the points in seventh will move up to sixth, and we'll find out at the race results at the end of the race.
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he has been shedding a lot of sweat inside the cockpit of his Williams Renault today, Murray, but
Damon Hill, Jean Alesi, Mark Blundell, Olivier Panis.
this has been an incredible, dominant performance from the Williams-Renault team. And I think this result will make all the difference, because I think they will retake the lead in the Constructors' Championship. It's been an incredible season between both manufacturers, as just how they were over a year ago as well. But we do know that Williams won the Constructors' Championship last year. And I think, like I said, as well as the Drivers' Championship going down to the wire, I think also the Constructors' Championship is going to also be exactly that, as we go into the last 7 races of this year's Reimagined 1995 Grand Prix Championship season.
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car. Olivier Panis, Mark Blundell.
He almost touches once again, Damon. I think that's Heinz-Held Frentzen. As much as I know that they had a good start, it's a shame that Sauber have, unfortunately... Oh!
He's lost the place. The gap is growing.
And there passes Alesi, but we do know he is already disqualified, so he won't win this race today. But Hill is finally passed. Oh, he's nearly wheel to wheel with Johnny Herbert. And also racing unbelievably. Montemini's Pacific are out of the pit lane. Exits.
Race order. Jean Alesi, Damon Hill, Olivier Panis, Mark Blundell. He's definitely gaining.
Well, because since Alesi's been caught up with back markers, that's gave Hill a huge chance to get back into the lead. And he's stuck behind currently, I think that's Taki Inoue's footwork.
He's closing the gap.
Alesi's been slowed up by, I think that's Eddie Irvine's Jordan.
They're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
No, my apologies, that was Rubens Barrichello. Even though he is still currently holding on to 4th place. Once again, to remind you, disqualification rules weren't even a thing in this game, so that's why the driver is still out, as we can see at the moment. He's made contact with, I think that was Pedro Diniz, I think, in his 40 course Ford. Once again, this is the first time ever in Grand Prix Formula 1 that we've had someone who is already leading the Grand Prix. No, sorry, actually already being disqualified from the race, but still leading the race in the final. Of course,
they're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
The last 10 laps of this afternoon's 1995 Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring. Oh, Schumacher! Sorry. Hill, sorry. I'm so used to calling Michael Schumacher since we followed him in the last race. He nearly hit the Armco barrier. I think his tyres are starting to go here. But 8 laps are remaining of this year's Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring. Whatever happens, Hill will still win the race since Alesi has already been disqualified for multiple unsportsmanlike behaviour, style driving warnings.
And the gap is closing. It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that. Race order. John Alesi, Damon Hill, Olivier Panis, Mark Blundell.
Well, even though he's already disqualified, it's still amazing that we can still provide you with some great entertainment.
I'm sure there was contact there.
And there was contact! I don't know why. I don't know which McLaren driver that was. He was trying to fend off
The gap is increasing.
Alesi. I think that could have been Blundell, I think. Even though he's already been lapped. It's amazing that Damon Hill has almost lapped the entire field. Just like what he did back at Imola in San Marino for the San Marino Grand Prix.
And he's gained a lot of time there.
He's now passed him though. He is trying for a few moves, but Hill shuts the door, and rightly so.
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
He's almost giving a bit of a taste of Alesi's own medicine now.
Race order. Damon Hill, John Alesi, Olivier Panis, Mark Blundell.
As we head into, from just a few laps ago, the final 10 laps. It has been another amazing drive from, once again, Damon Hill. And even though he's only won one race of this championship so far, He's only a few laps away from taking his second race victory of the championship, and well deserved and long awaited 10 championship points that will be all important to him in the Drivers' Championship and to the Williams-Renault, Rotham's Williams-Renault team in the Constructors' Championship.
This young man really is a superlative driver.
You're right there, Murray, and I honestly feel like that the style of driving we have been seeing from of course, sorry, not yourself there, Murray, I was going to say Damon Hill this afternoon, has just been simply outstanding. And it has been another incredible drive from
Damon Hill, John Alesi, Olivier Panis, Mark Blundell.
From the Englishman. And unbelievably, I've only just found out, I think Olivier Panis has overtook Mark Blundell. So currently, as it stands, Olivier Panis in his Ligier could be heading for a second place. All you viewers out there, you certainly weren't expecting this result to happen now, were you? This crazy, crazy sport, Murray. But boy, do I love it sometimes.
It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that.
Well, it doesn't feel like that. Olivier has done the same today. He hasn't just been lucky, but I think we are seeing a future Grand Prix winner. And I think he's a young Frenchman with a great Grand Prix future in front of him. We do know that he might be considering staying at the team, but we've heard rumours that possibly from next year in 1996, that former French driver and four-time world champion, that being Alain Prost, as we mentioned earlier on in the race, he could be setting up a brand new Formula One team.
Race order: Damon Hill, John Alesi, Olivier Panis, Mark Blundell.
But that's not to, I think, officially be confirmed, because they will stay as Ligier for another year, for another season from next year in 1996. Hill approaches Coulthard again. And this is going to be unbelievable that now David Coulthard is going to finish out of the points again this afternoon as he comes in for his final pit stop.
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car. This is the next to last lap.
And unbelievably, we are now on to lap 75, but starting lap 76 as out of 77, as we are nearing the final lap of this afternoon's 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring in Budapest. Damon Hill has one more final lap to see if he can take his second race victory. And unbelievably, I think now the fifth or sixth race, I think, that the team of the Rotherham's Williams Renault team have won so far this season. Past Mikasalo's Tyrrell. And Damon Hill in his...
Damon Hill, John Alesi, Olivier Panis, Mark Blundell. It's the final lap.
As you were just about to say there, Murray, when you just said the race order, now Damon Hill is on his final lap. Can he do enough to hold off Alesi? Once again, he's already disqualified.
Really is a superlative driver.
Whatever happens, Damon Hill will still win the race because Panis is too far behind and won't be able to catch up with Damon in time. Ooh! Blue flags wave from both of the 40 course Fords. First, Roberto Marino, and second, Pedro Diniz. He didn't let him pass. That's past Johnny Herbert's Benetton. And finally, Eddie Irvine's Jordan Peugeot. And here he comes round the last hairpin. Michael Schumacher. Sorry, Damon Hill wins the 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix.
What a marvellous race. What a great win.
It's a win for Damon Hill. Frank Williams is going to be very happy with this win. This'll really help the team in this year's Constructors' Championship. I know the Ligier team are going to be overjoyed with this. What an incredible result for Formula One.
Well, without a doubt, Murray, and an unbelievable second race victory of the year for Britain's Damon Hill as he wins the second race victory of the 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula One World Championship season. What a superb drive there from the Williams driver, and that's really put him back in contention of the drivers and also helping Williams in the Constructors' Championship. But amazingly, because of once again John Alesi picking up a disqualification for multiple unsportsmanlike behaviour warnings from earlier on in the race, that means that unbelievably Olivier Panis matches his second best result in Formula One and getting another podium finish, and the first podium for Ligier Mugen Honda with brand new Mugen power, of course, powered engines in their whole history and being around in Formula One. And once again, another back-to-back third place podium finish for the British driver of Mark Blundell in his Marlboro McLaren Mercedes. But it was an unforgettable drive there, and quite a challenging one at times for, of course, Damon. But he thoroughly deserves this victory. Once again, to clarify, Britain's Damon Hill in for the Rotherham's Williams Renault team. He wins the second race of his Formula One, of course, 1995 season. And once again, to clarify, he wins the 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix here from the Hungaroring in Budapest. What an unbelievable drive! races just continue to surprise me again and again and again. Well, there you go, everybody. That concludes the full race length highlights of once again, the race highlights of the 10th round of the 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship with the 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix. And all I can say, everybody, we certainly did not expect that result to happen. But once again, an incredible second race victory, finally long awaited for the British driver for Williams Renault of once again Damon Hill. And what an unbelievable drive from 5th place on the grid. For him to have started behind some of the, obviously getting overtaken by the likes of Eddie Irvine at the beginning there in his Jordan, of course, Peugeot. But the incredible, of course, drive and battle that he had with his, of course, former championship rival, that being Michael Schumacher, and the current world champion as well, was absolutely amazing. But we seriously, and I mean seriously, did not expect the dirty and absolute shameful driving from both of the Ferrari drivers of Austrian Gerhard Berger and also Frenchman John Alesi. After coming from the last race of being the winner at the German Grand Prix, both of them, and how they were controlled by the AI, they were just constantly hitting drivers from the side of their cars, and the FIA stewards were straight to it. And if it were to happen, I think in real life, even with the rules in, of course, the actual FIA Formula 1 World Championship now, I think it would have happened almost in the exact same way. So, and we did actually see, I know you didn't see, of course, because flags weren't an option to be obviously be used during, of course, a race, especially with accidents, especially yellow and, of course, red flags, and not to mention the black and white diagonal flag for unsportsmanlike behaviour style of driving, and also the black flag for disqualifications for drivers, which hasn't actually happened for a long time in this series. Not to go back to, I think it was the Monaco Grand Prix when Mark Blundell and also Mika Salo in his Tyrrell Yamaha both got disqualified for also the very similar incidences. As you can tell, my voice is a little bit hoarse because, as you can tell, that race was just absolutely crazy, to say the least. As I've said before, it's mad to have seen that the amount of action that was happening on track was truly incredible, and I'm so happy and I'm so grateful that what we just of course showed you earlier on, that's going to be a race we can look on back with quite fondness, because that was an unbelievable race once again from Damon Hill, of course, once again taking his second race victory of the championship and 10 well-deserved championship points in the Drivers' Championship and also towards the Constructors' Championship for Williams Renault. And because, of course, as you did see, when since it wasn't a thing in the game, that since when drivers were disqualified, we saw John Alesi manage to catch up once again with Damon Hill in the closing stages of the race. But as we mentioned in commentary, we already had confirmed from the stewards he was already black flagged and disqualified from the overall race classification. So that means, unbelievably, fellow Frenchman of Olivier Panis in, of course, the Giantis Blondes Ligier Mugen Honda takes his first ever podium of this year, and that's not the first one in his Formula 1 career, as we do know from last year in 1994. That was his best result of second in the for the team, with his fellow Frenchman teammate of Eric Barnard. But amazing achievement though from the French team to get their first podium as of this year in Formula One in this season, and that's an amazing achievement from, of course, from once again the French manufacturer, who could be considering that next year, as we mentioned earlier on in the race, that they could be might be replaced by there's been talks of a brand new team of Prost Grand Prix going to be introduced, also founded by former four-time, as I say that there twice there, former four-time World Drivers Champion of Alain Prost, and of course he is hoping to introduce the team from the year in, of course, not until the year of 1997, but of course we'll have more on that hopefully later on in the series. But as well as that, once again another incredible podium finish, again back-to-back third place results for the British driver of Mark Blundell, and the McLaren Mercedes team are really proving themselves strong contenders to compete against Benetton and Williams in this year's championship. It's for it being reimagined, obviously the reliability in real life for the team was the complete opposite, but towards the second half of the season they started to improve and they started getting more consistent points finishes, and but amazingly, even though he didn't finish in the points, I seriously was expecting Mika Hakkinen to finish in the points today. I mean, he had an amazing drive today, but it's a shame that from what we saw from the collision there with Mark Blundell, and I know that it was his fault initially, but he just got away with nearing, of course, and another potential disqualification like he did at the Monaco Grand Prix. But with that being said, if you are wondering why, of course, as you can see, I have also got my notepad back in my hands here, because of to acknowledge the unfortunate and unexpected double disqualification of both the Ferrari drivers of Gerhard Berger and John Alesi. Both of them have now been exempt from the race classification, and we can now clarify this as we have a look at the revised results of this, of course, year's 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix. Once again, Damon Hill in his Williams Renault wins the race with a total time of 1 hour 46 minutes 34.196 hundredths of a second. And then once again, Olivier Panis takes an incredible second place, and he once again, of course, since he was quite far behind, he finished behind by a whole minute and 7 seconds. 0.184 hundredths of a second. Mark Blundell was already lapped by one whole lap when he, of course, since he initially finished in fourth, but due to the, of course, the disqualification of John Alesi, he's been moved up to third place. Rubens Barrichello finishes another impressive fourth and finishes behind by 2 laps in his Jordan Peugeot. Another 3 points to the total Jordan Grand Prix Peugeot power team. And Jean-Christophe Bouillon unbelievably gets a 5th place and 2 more points for the Red Bull Sauber Ford team, and finished behind by 3 laps, as well as the Japanese driver once again of Yukio Katayama in his Tiro Yamaha gets the last point for in the Constructors' Championship for the British manufacturer, and also finishing behind by also 3 laps. An impressive performance from the Portuguese driver of for the Minardi Ford team of Pedro Lamy. He finishes behind by 4 laps once again in 7th place. And unbelievably, amazingly, the of course fellow Italian driver of Massimiliano, Max Papis, he finishes in 8th place and behind by 5 laps, as well as the British driver, of course, that being Michael Schumacher's Benetton Renault teammate of Johnny Herbert in 9th, and rounding off the top 10 was David Coulthard, who managed to get into the top 10 for, of course, after being a few laps behind. but he managed to also finish in the top 10, and once again behind by 5 laps. And also to clarify that the fastest lap amazingly set, and I think it might be now a new lap record at the circuit, but that was once again done by Damon Hill, and his fastest lap he set was a 1 minute 18 seconds 0.835 hundredths of a second. Well, there you go, everybody, and once again we can clarify, because of the disqualification, because he was on a final warning from the FIA stewards, Gerhard Berger is set to be banned from the next race, of that being the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps, and I think also Jean Alesi is set to also face a race ban as well. So it's a very similar situation to where Gerhard was at the coming into the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. So it's not looking very good at the moment for the Ferrari team at the moment in the championship, even though they still are unbelievably staying where they are at the moment. No points, of course, due to that double disqualification for them in the Constructors' Championship. So with that also being said, let's get straight on to updating the, of course, once again, the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship tables, as we have now reached the, of course, after 10 rounds of this year's 1995 reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship. And even though he didn't score any points, still David Coulthard still leads at the moment, whereby 41 points, and it's still the same point gap of just 6 points in it between both drivers, of himself and Michael Schumacher in his Benetton Renault. But amazingly, because of the podium finish, Mark Blundell for the McLaren Mercedes team moves up to 3rd place now in the Drivers' Championship with 30 points, as well as once again Johnny Herbert not going into the points. He now drops down to 4th with still 27 points. And after that all-important race victory there for Damon Hill, he now moves up unbelievably from 7th to 5th now in the Drivers' Championship, and he currently has 26 points, and just narrowing a narrow 5-point lead ahead of John Alesi in 6th place, who unbelievably is now tied with Rubens Barrichello. Also both have 21 points, as Gerhard Berger still stays in 8th place with 12 points. And unbelievably, after initially finishing of course out of the top 10 from the start of before this race, he initially had 3 points, but all those all-important precious 6 points there for the Frenchman Olivier Panis. He now moves up to 9th place, back into the top 10, and also unbelievably tied with his fellow countryman, that being Jean-Christophe Bourgnon in his Red Bull Sauber Ford, along of course, like I said, with Olivier's of course Panis's Ligier there as well, just rounding out the top 10, and that meaning knocking out just out of the top 10 Carl Wendlinger, who will be returning very soon, as I've just heard before we got the race underway. We forgot to mention at the beginning of the programme that he is set to return very, very soon, following his of course his head injury assessment from last year's Monaco Grand Prix, where he had quite a near fatal accident, for some of you that may not remember that earlier on in the series. But with that covering the Drivers' Championship, let's have a look at now the Constructors' Championship. And because of that all-important race victory there for Williams, that means that they have now retaken the lead in the Constructors' Championship, and now are leading just by a 5-point lead over Benetton, who once again failed to score points this weekend and in this particular race of the championship. And that means that unbelievably McLaren Mercedes are starting to close the gap on Benetton, but they are 17 points behind, of course, Benetton, but still stay in 3rd place, and have moved up to 40 points. Ferrari stay in fourth at the moment after the double disqualification of both drivers in with 33 points, but Jordan Peugeot are starting to close the gap between them now, and if they continue to score points, Ferrari especially, since one of their drivers can't race next time out at the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps, they could close the gap right up to Ferrari, and they could possibly lose fourth place to Jordan. We'll of course see how that develops in the next few races of this year's championship. While sixth place is Sauber Ford, as they get 2 additional points from 12 to now they move up to 15 points, and now unbelievably Lee J. Mudron Honda, because of that incredible unexpected second position and their first podium of the year, they move from of course once again 8th place to 7th with 9 points, and 1 additional point from initially 4 to Tiro Yamaha, moving up now to 5 points, but still at the bottom in 9th place is Footwork Kart, still with only 2 points at the moment. Well, there you go, everybody. We finally have got to, of course, cover another edition of and another race down of the Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship. It has been another unforgettable and quite eventful race, as I know it feels like that I'm using words that I've seemed to have used a lot of during this series, but all thanks to this series, we have had some of the most, I think, outrageous results that we've ever had in any of the races so far in this series, and especially with the double disqualification there for the Ferrari drivers. Only one of them will be racing next time out at the next round of the championship, and of course you won't have to be waiting too long, because we now finally have got a few weeks back, and of course we're now back at back on schedule to broadcasting the highlights of the next round of the championship. But we will be staying in Europe, and next time out on Grand Prix Formula 1 we will be heading to the beautiful forest areas of Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium for the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix from the beautiful, of course, countryside based circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, and we know that it is one of the best race tracks in the world. It's 3.3 miles long with straights with fast open corners, a tight chicane and naming the bus stop, and of course don't forget the daunting and legendary Eau Rouge corner, which I know that in previous years has had to be amended into a chicane for safety reasons, but we do know that that hasn't happened as of recently. So and we've also found out that we've had been very fortunate enough with the weather over the last 2 races, but next time out there could be some heavy rain on the way, so it's going to be very reminiscent of the race that we had at Imola in San Marino, so we could be in for another wet race, and it could really mix things up as well, because we've especially with the wet weather races that we've been having, that now of course this will be, I think, possibly the 3rd wet weather race of this year, of course, since we've had one already at Imola, as well as the unexpected drizzly conditions towards the end of the French Grand Prix, and we look like we're heading into a lot more worse conditions, but hopefully the race will still go ahead, and because of that unexpected weather, but it could really mix things up in the championship as well. So it's definitely going to be worth the watch, of course, when we next be with you for the next round of this year's FIA Reimagined Formula 1 World Championship. Well, with that being said, thanks very much for watching another edition of Grand Prix Formula 1, and once again to the highlights of the 1995 Marlborough Hungarian Grand Prix. Once again, Damon Hill takes his 2nd race victory of the year, and Williams Renault are right back in it in the Constructors' Championship. But of course, once again, it is an absolute heartbreak and a weekend to forget for Ferrari. They prancing horses have definitely lost their gallop going into the next race, unfortunately, pardon the pun. And once again, to clarify that John O'Lacey is still set to race, but he is going to be warned to face a race ban, possibly from the following race after that, which will be happening at Monza in Italy for the Italian Grand Prix. But we do know that Gerhard Berger will be forced to, and he's banned from the next race due to the unsportsmanlike behaviour, style driving, and the disqualification that he picked up in the race today. So it's not looking good for Ferrari. They started well, but due to the way that they have behaved through the AI in this game, it's very different to how it has been, of course, from all those years ago. And it's very unlike Ferrari to, of course, race in the way that we saw today. And it's thank God it's only, of course, just a reimagining and a what-if situation of and showing what it would be like to race as them in this particular series. But with that being said, we would just like to say thank you very much for your utmost patience on, of course, waiting for this an additional, of course, once again, another edition of Grand Prix Formula 1. Once again, we are back to our, of course, normal broadcast schedule in a few weeks' time from at the end of this month in August for the next round of the championship, like I said, which will be the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix from Spa-Francorchamps. And we are still, of course, after that unpredictable and quite eventful race that we've had today, we can't wait for hopefully more of the same as we head into a very wet, of course, Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium for the next round of this year's 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship. So until then, from me, Jack Wright, and from everyone here from the Grand Prix Formula 1 studio, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time for the next round and round 11 of the 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship season with, once again, the Belgian Grand Prix from Spa-Francorchamps. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye. Are we done? Oh, my word. Can you actually believe that actually happened on the game just now? Oh, my word. That is just baffling, isn't it? I mean, and I did actually see it in, like, you know, from when I was just commentating on the race with Murray earlier. Only on this game. Only on this game. Well, at least next time out we'll be back to Michael Schumacher for this one, and I know that what happened in real life. He actually started quite far back in that race, didn't he? And he went on to win the race as well, didn't he? He like started from 12th or something. Man, wouldn't that be amazing if I can try and recreate that as well? Well, we've had another real life result that's happened with another win to Damon Hill there, so I think anything could be possible in this series. I always seem to make the impossible possible on this series. I don't know how I do it. I think it's I wouldn't say it's just down to luck, but it's I think a bit of coincidence as well, possibly. There's definitely there's no magic or anything. That's all part of it. I'll have to think about that. Anyway, well done everybody. That's another incredible edition. We'll look back here on, of course, from Jackpot, Button Lewis Sport Productions. And once again, to clarify, that concludes the 10th edition of Grand Prix Formula 1 and to highlights of the 1995 Hungarian Grand Prix from the Hungaroring in Budapest. And cut. If you enjoyed this race here on Jackpot Button Lewis Productions, let me know on what you thought of the race by giving a like on this video and subscribing so you never miss out on future races with more exciting classic retro Grand Prix racing action. And also once again, let us know on your thoughts on the video by commenting down below in the, of course, comment box. And we look forward to seeing you for some more exciting, more future Grand Prix racing action, all here on Jackpot Button Lewis Productions, here on YouTube.